Evening, everyone. Calling the meeting to order. Thank you for attending and being with us for this work session. Our first order of business would be to identify the board members that are online, so I will hold roll call. Commissioner Sana Gregory.
I am here.
Commissioner Gail Hambrick.
Here.
Commissioner Demont Davis. Commissioner Felicia Franklin Warner. Okay, so we will proceed on. First item is preliminary items for the 9/15/2020, September 15th regular board meeting. Hopefully each commissioner has had opportunity to review those preliminary items. Are there any items up for discussion that either commissioner would have? All right, hearing none, we'll go straight into our discussion items. Our first discussion item will be a presentation from Engage Clayton. We have from NickelWorks, Ms. Nicole Hall with us. Please, ma'am, come take the podium.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Commissioners. It's a little different. Thank you for the opportunity to update you on the Clayton County Government Community Engagement Initiative. It's good for those that are here in person and those that are on the screen. I am Nicole McGee Hall, owner and managing principal at NickelWorks Consulting. And we were selected as a consultant for the Community Engagement Initiative, which we have coined as Engage Clayton. We commenced work in mid-December and had a project kickoff meeting on a rainy night in February. Although the weather wasn't desirable, we had a good turnout and received plenty of responses. We also had 3 commissioners in attendance, which was much appreciated. The support of the commissioners is key to our success. As a reminder, this is a county-wide initiative, which is inclusive of the commission districts and cities and relies on utilizing points of contact with organizations, whether those are business organizations, civic, etc., city and county officials, small and large businesses, churches, etc., to reach all the residents and citizens in the districts of Clayton County. For our first kickoff meeting, we had equal representation in districts 1, 2, and 3, but we had the most from District 4. We were excited because this became more of a competition. The project consists of 3 key objectives: establishing a database that the county will use to engage with residents, businesses, frequent visitors, and other interested parties. The second is conducting a county-wide survey to get feedback on current methods of engagement and desired engagement activities for the future. And third, to develop a plan of action that the county will use going forward to enhance their engagement efforts and reach a broader group. In phase 1, we did initial project research and ramp up. We developed a brand. We set up the database and began some community engagement, as well as conducted a community kickoff meeting, as I mentioned earlier. At the end of February, we were approximately 40% complete. In phase 2, which is where we are now, we continue to distribute the survey, update the database, and do community outreach. With COVID-19, our outreach activities were suspended. The hiatus was from mid-March until mid-June. We started doing outreach and attending events again in June, with the first one being the Police Reform Forum. We are in what we call re-engage Clayton mode. We attend events and distribute flyers with the QR code and the text to survey number for the attendees to participate in the survey. We're also engaging in some new methods, which could possibly be sending out the actual surveys via mail and putting up flyers at key locations such as the tag office and the community development department, as well as other key venues around the county. We have a list of events that we have where we have coordinated with the cities as well as the, some of the commissioners, whether they be in person or virtual, and we will be engaging in those throughout September and October. We are also sending out the survey via email to the database contacts as well as others that we learn about. One of the key things that we are doing since COVID-19 is a social media campaign, and that is actually going to be sent out at the end, sometime this week, but by the end of the week. This is where we need your assistance, commissioners. We need your support. If you're having a virtual or in-person meeting, we will attend and pass out flyers, or have you to put up a digital flyer with the QR code and the text information, so we can increase our survey participation and engage as many people as possible. The most important aspect to remember is that this is a county-wide initiative, and it isn't about one commissioner, one district, or one city. Receiving repetitive information has proven to be successful in getting information out to the community. And I just wanted to give an example for myself. Although my business is in Clayton County, I live in the city of South Fulton, which is obviously in Fulton County. And so I may get things from the city of South Fulton, from Fulton County, from the district, the city council member district, as well as the commissioner. So, and I may get it from next door. So when you get all these things in a repetitive fashion, people pay more attention to it. They actually will then participate. And so that is where we want to extend our reach to more people. In phase 3, we will have a project culmination event, which we are still working on. Excuse me. It won't be the same as the kickoff because that was in person, and with COVID-19, we realized we have to do something different, but we are trying to be creative. We'll also be presenting a final report with the survey results and a community engagement action plan. So that is the brief update on where we are and where we have been and where we're going. And at this time, I will open it up for any questions or comments that you have.
All right, Ms. Hall, I appreciate the work that you're doing in this area. As you said, this is a countywide initiative, and I really, really encourage all our elected officials as well as our citizens to get engaged. One of the things that I have heard over the years quite often is they want more information. They want to be plugged in. They want to be engaged. And this initiative, as you said, only helps because the repetitive information you get, more sticks to you. So I appreciate everything that you're doing in that space. Either Commissioner Gregory or Hambrick, do you have any comments you would like to make?
I don't.
I just want to say thank you to Nicole. Thank you.
All right, thanks, commissioners. Thank you for your presentation this afternoon.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. All right, next we'll have a presentation, but before I go on with that, on HUD by Patrick Ejiki. This item was placed on the work session agenda by Commissioner Franklin, who unfortunately is not able to be with us this afternoon. Commissioner, she has asked that we table this until the next work session meeting, unless one of you, I don't have a problem with tabling it until the next meeting, unless one of you would like to go forward with the information that's presented today.
I don't have a problem with tabling it.
Same here.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Ejiki, you're fine. All right, next up will be a discussion. Well, it's more of a statement about board appointments. I really want the commissioners to think about the board appointments when a vacancy exists due to someone's resignation or an unfortunate death, that we look to at least do everything in our power to replace that person within a 60-day window. And the ask for that is that on the boards, when there's 5 or even less, if we don't go ahead and expeditiously appoint somebody, that could impact decisions that these boards would have to make within a timely period. So I want us to think about it and consider making sure that when the vacancy exists, if it's one of our picks, that we go ahead within a 60-day window at least at maximum to make that appointment. And also to be all right with the fact that if any commissioner cannot make a decision within 60 days that for that pick and that pick only, that it results to a full board appointment at large, so we can keep the county boards moving. So again, that's more of a statement, unless one of you want to comment on it.
I just want to say, I think that it will flow better now that we've got it set out as to each commissioner having, you know, appointments. I think it will go better. I don't think it, because we know we have an appointment coming up. So I think we won't see this lapse anymore. But at the same time, shouldn't that be a resolution? If it goes to the other person or whatever, that should be in the form of a resolution, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it would have to go as a form of resolution if we change the way we do business. My purpose for this work session is to put it on your mind. I agree with you, Commissioner Gregory, that hopefully that since somebody's name is attached to it, then they will come to the business meeting ready to make an appointment. But if all else fails for whatever reason, I would like to at least think, and I'm open to seeing how things flow from this point on. But if not, then yes, then I probably would bring forth a resolution to try to make sure that these board appointments are being filled in a timely manner. But to your point, Commissioner Gregory, I do agree and hope that that will be the case, that appointments will be made a little swifter. Commissioner Hambrick, you were saying something?
Well, I just wanted to say that I don't know of anybody that has waited 60 days, but I know I have carried over from a meeting to a meeting because I want to get the most qualified person, I think, for that particular board. Because I don't think anybody is eligible for any board. So I try to find folk that match up with whatever that board opening is.
Yeah, the 60-day time period is basically, because most boards meet once a month, or if not quarterly, and that should give ample time to be able to fill a position. If somebody is out, for instance, if somebody's out sick and they are out for more than 30 days or so, then we want to make sure that there's a plan B in place to address that. But again, I'm not looking at this point to put it in resolution, just food for thought.
Okay, I like the food for thought better.
All right.
Well,
anything
for
else?
now, until we, get it flowing and all, and
Yeah.
we know now that there is a timetable that we have to think about. But I think that's a little bit extreme right now for a resolution.
And that's why I'm not bringing forth as a resolution, but just to make sure that everybody knows that my mindset is that we need to make sure that we are pushing these board appointments through as expeditiously as possible. But I do understand that things happen sometimes. So again, food for thought. We'll wait and evaluate and make sure that things are going smoothly, and then we'll proceed accordingly. All right, thank you. All right, the last item is the overview from the Land Bank and Green Space Trust Board. Commissioner Hambrick asked for this to be on the agenda. We'll start with Mr. Hodges, since he is present before us. Green Space Trust Board.
How you doing, Chairman? Good afternoon, good evening, Commissioners. We had discussed previously some of the duties and responsibilities of the Green Space Trust Board. The Green Space Trust Board was established in 2001 by the Department of Natural Resources, and we, Clayton County government, established the Green Space Trust Board on April the 18th of 2001, and it is the Green Space Act, the Georgia Green Space Act, and we passed that with Resolution 2001-39. The purpose of the Green Space Trust Board, it provides the ownership mechanism for property acquired under the county's Green Space program and holds title to the protected lands. So basically, what does that say? The Green Space Trust Board has the ability to purchase, acquire, hold, own, sell, transfer, dispose of real estate designed as green space. And basically, you know, they follow all of the Georgia Department of Natural Resources rules and regulations for a green space trust program. I have provided sent an email to everyone concerning the official resolution, a list of the current members, which are the Chairman Turner, Commissioner Davis would be the chairman and the vice chair of the Green Space Trust Board, and then 4 outstanding members. Right now we have Mrs. Torbush, Libby Torbush, and Timothy Keeney, and we are awaiting the appointment of 2 additional board members.
And I would just like to add, those 2 additional board members are from what districts? Just so, I think it's Commissioner Hambrick and Gregory, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have them that place that, and I had the clerk to hold it until we can get this information. So if y'all could come to the next board meeting with a selection at that time, I would appreciate it. So we can hold a meeting and have, I think we already have a quorum, but we'd like to have a full slate of members present for the first meeting. Does,
How often do they meet, Chairman, and what time?
We have a meeting as early as Thursday, and it's really, there's not a set time that we do meet. If we don't have any regular business that needs to be discussed, then we'll meet on a quarterly basis. But like, for instance, we have a parcel of land on Valley Hill Road with the bridge project that the Green Space Trust Board needs to convey the land to Clayton County so we can provide Georgia Power with the easement. So the county can provide Georgia Power with the easement, and it's basically getting that trust board to move that piece of land from the trust board to Clayton County Board of Commissioners for the easement to go to Georgia Power.
yeah,
When you do meet, what time are those meetings held?
well, right now, Mr. Hodges has put out a filler to the 3 board members that are present, and right now we're looking at possibly meeting. We're getting responses back 2 o'clock on Thursday, possibly 2 o'clock on this Thursday, to meet in reference to the easement.
And that's a virtual board meeting at this time.
Okay, but if I have someone in mind, I would like to be able to tell them time, place.
In the past, when we have met on a regular basis, it's been before a board meeting to accommodate the chairman and the vice chair. We're on a Tuesday night at say 5:30 or 6 o'clock before the regular business meeting.
And let me say this, Commissioner, once we get together for the very first time, we can sit down and set some parameters. We as the board can sit down and set those parameters as to when we meet and how often we'll meet. So the time is not set in stone, so we can modify that to work with anybody's schedule.
Okay, how do we get the funding for that board, for that group, to purchase the land and those kind of things, whatever other expenses? Where does the funding come from?
The funding would come from, either the general fund or the SPLOST funds, or, we are applying for the Georgia DNR grant, which is Georgia Department of Natural Resources, Land and Water Conservation Funds. So it could come from a great deal of sources, if you will, but basically the federal grants is what we strive to get.
And in years past, we have had under a SPLOS, green space
Yes, sir.
monies. So, as he said, there's a number of ways or resources that we get funding for the green space.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Troy.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, just for the record, to reflect that Commissioner DeMont Davis has joined us. All right, at this time, we will have a presentation from, not from, but on the land bank from Miss Allie Jett. I guess, Mr. Reed, is she gonna do the presentation or are you gonna chime in? Sir? Okay, Miss Jett, It's very nice to meet you finally. I've heard a lot about you, and I appreciate you willing to come or deal with Clayton County in reference to our land bank. There's a lot of work needs to be done, so I will turn it over to you, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you, Commissioner Turner. I appreciate that. I'm also looking forward to it. You know, I'm early days into this role and am still kind of trying to, I guess, wrap my head around exactly how much has been left undone at this point with the land bank. I mean, it has existed on paper for a number of years. You know, I've had a number of conversations with the chair, Ms. Latrice Mitchell. It seems like the board members don't have a lot of information in their personal possession regarding corporate documents, history, much less property-specific information about the property. That has historically been handled by their legal counsel / executive directors over at Foster & Foster. So about a month ago, I reached out to them and gave them a laundry list of client-related documents I'd like them to turn over to me so I could see exactly where things are. Had a few follow-up communications with them. I'm assured that they're working on it, but I still haven't received any documents. So I'm well versed on conceptually what land banks can and can't do and how they can or are supposed to work, but I am relatively slim on specific information as to what has happened prior to now. I do understand from Mr. Reed that there was a resolution that was put forward earlier this year, pre-COVID, to reconstitute or I guess redivvy up the board positions for the land bank, to bring in more city members and to change out some board positions, but that we're still that has not been finalized. So I think the draft resolution that I saw called for a total of 11 board members. According to the website, I believe that there are currently 9 that are on there. The land bank statute requires that there be anywhere between an odd number of people, of board members, anywhere between 5 and 11. So I think that as a very, very basic matter, we need to figure out who's on the board and making decisions. And from there, you know, I've asked for some information on exactly what properties and inventories are being held by the land bank. I believe most, if not all of them have been acquired via tax sale. So there's a considerable amount of post-sale title work that's needed to get the land bank into a clear ownership position. So I don't know how far along the road the land bank is on any of those efforts to be able to tell you whether they're the actual owner of the property or whether they just have a tax deed interest in the property, because of course that's going to make a big difference in terms of what their responsibilities and powers are with respect to the properties.
Yeah, let me interject for
Sure,
a second.
please.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
I'd rather be answering questions.
I kind of sense that. And you're at a disadvantage, and I recognize that simply because structurally and organizationally, you don't have the information to really to present and to give us a more thorough update as to where the land bank is. And we will have you back at another work session once that information has been obtained.
Okay.
But for the purpose of this work session, for me anyway, if you could just explain to us what the purpose of the land bank is and how it should be operating.
Well, I mean, I think there are a great number of options for the land bank board. Some land banks offer are just a parking place for tax distressed properties that the county doesn't know what to do with, and all they are is just, and this is what I think Clayton County has been, or what the Clayton County Land Bank has been, is just a holding place for title for properties that could not be sold at tax sale. But more active land banks have a mission in there. They may be looking at developing affordable housing. And they may, either sell off raw land to developers that meet their criteria of what they're gonna do with the property, to develop things that are in concert with their mission. Some land banks will hold property for rental income, and they participate in the community that way. Some are more green space or public space type things, where it could be like, a lot of land banks will host community gardens, or they may operate as an extension of the public works and have park space. They can certainly just sell property outright for commercial or developmental purposes. They can sell it for a profit. And so there's any number of things that they can do. And so a lot of that is kind of guided by the board as to, and maybe by the people who are appointing the board members, as to what their goals are. The municipal and county members of the board are wanting that land bank to do.
Okay. Commissioner Hambrick, did you have any
Yeah,
questions?
I do,
ma'am.
yes. Thank you, Ms. Jett, is that correct?
Yes.
I have not met you, but
I look forward to when all this is over and we can all meet face to face.
I know. Okay. Well, let's see. Okay, with Land Bank too, where does that funding come from? Where do we get the money? Where does the county get the money to purchase these properties? I've seen these signs, and I don't know, and maybe you can answer this one, Chairman. Of recent, I see these signs popping up throughout the county. I have two properties that I'm inquiring about, and I know we don't have the information right now, but maybe when we do a little bit more research and all. But there's a house on Godby Road, and also a I guess a medical house, or what do you call these houses? At Lake Ridge, right at the corner of Lake Ridge and Highway 138. They use it for the medically needed, or a hospice.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
House, I think, is what it's been in the past. And I noticed there's a sign that has gone up about this house is owned by Clayton County Land Bank, da da da. So how and why are these signs popping up now? I mean, I'm glad to know this and all, but
Correct me if
I didn't know that. Do you know that, Chairman? Right now?
Yeah, hold on. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Reed, but it's a court process you have to undertake, and once it comes into our inventory, then we post a sign.
I'll defer to Ally on the process on how that happens, but I'm sure we're not just willy-nilly just posting signs.
No, we're not. It's some court action. I hope it's taking place.
There may be a
before.
number of reasons as to why a property is posted. I mean, if it's if they're trying to quiet title, for instance, to say it was just a tax sale property, but they want to get clear title into the land bank, and they file a quiet title, or they're foreclosing out rights to redeem a property that exists after a tax sale. The law will require that you post notice to anybody who might be in possession with notice of those proceedings. So if they're disputing the land bank's claim of ownership, or if they're saying they have a right to redeem the property, then that's one of the many ways that the land bank or any tax deed purchaser might give the public of what, notice of what they're doing. Now, if it's just a proud property of the land bank, and they're touting, I guess like I've seen community gardens where they've already got clear title. It's just a PR move saying, that this community bank is brought to you by the land bank. So I don't know specifically what these signs are, if it's just a promotional material or if it's a legal notice about.
Commissioner Hambrick, can you expand on that? Whether it's a legal notice, or is it a sign that just shows that we are the legal owners of the property now?
Right. It does look like a legal sign saying that we are the owners of the property. And of course, I've gotten, a couple of questions, especially about the property on Godby Road. And I just saw the one over in Lake Ridge last week. I think that one just popped up. But
Well, I don't know what you did.
They're in a quiet title action, and that part of that saying is that they've filed a petition. And one of the things I've asked for is a list of all pending litigation on all land bank properties. But part of a quiet title action would be that you post the property saying the land bank is hereby claiming ownership of the property. If anybody, that pursuant to, Judge Carter or whomever's order on this date, you have 60 days to come forward and file a response if you're contesting the allegations of the land bank in that lawsuit. So that may be what it is.
Okay, but it doesn't have that much information. It only has that the Clayton County land bank owners or whatever. And if you have any questions, it does have a phone number on there that you can call. So.
Commissioner Hambrick,
I just
I'll
wonder why
check
they're just
into it.
popping up.
Yeah, I'll check into the ones you referenced and get it to Ms. Jett, and we'll get you a better answer.
Oh, okay, because I think somebody may have been interested in one of those properties. I'm not sure. And did we say where the money comes from? Did we?
No, I can go back to that.
Okay.
So there are a number of ways that a land bank can get funding. They can be self-funding through, selling property, generating proceeds off of that goes back into their operating budget. If there's a local resolution that allows for it, land banks, after they do sell property, they can recoup as much as 75% of the taxes for the next 5 years. So instead of that going to the tax commissioner, into the county, that can come back to the land bank for operating budget. They can, I think I mentioned earlier, they can have rental property, and so they can retain that rental income to defray their operating costs. Like the Green Space Trust Board, there are federal grants that they can apply for, but most commonly it comes from funding from the members of the land bank, the county almost always the county, and sometimes the city members, as part of the land bank's budget, contributes a portion of the overall operating to the land bank. And one of the things that I'm looking for is budget information from Foster and Foster, and so I don't have that yet, so I don't know specifically how this land bank is being funded, but those are all mechanisms by which they can receive funding.
Okay, and Chairman, I believe you mentioned, no, maybe it was you, somebody mentioned that there are supposedly 11 members. We have 9, I think.
There are 9. There was a resolution that was presented earlier this year that I don't believe has been entered, but that would increase it to 11.
Oh, okay. Well, when they increase, hopefully I will have a space for a member, because I do know somebody that's familiar in my district that I would like to nominate if we get that an additional.
Sure. Well, the way the current resolution or the way that the proposed resolution is supposed to be set up is that there will be 4 seats that can be appointed by the county.
Okay.
And then the remaining 7 seats, there is 1 seat allocated to each of 7 municipalities, which include Forest Park, College Park, Morrow,
Okay.
Lovejoy, Riverdale, Jonesboro, and Lake City.
Okay. Okay, and I'm not sure if you know this or whatever, but how does the Land Bank Board and the Green Space differ? Now, I'm assuming, of course, from the presentation that Green Space purchasing land or property just for that purpose, for green space. But what other differences are there?
I would say the land bank has a broader possible number of areas they can get into, green space being one of them. So there certainly can be overlap. But I think that would be one thing that the county might want to think about, or have at least the 2 organizations interface in. If there's a limited amount of budget that the land bank has, and I'm not saying there's a surplus for the Green Space Trust Board. I don't know what their current financial situation is, but there are certainly going to be some maintenance and upkeep and just operating costs for both entities. And so if one entity has more room in their budget, then it might make sense to be allocating more properties towards those versus,
Okay. And again, I'm not sure if you know this one, but the meeting dates and times.
There has not been a land bank board meeting since COVID has started. There's nothing in the statute that requires that the boards meet at a particular frequency or time or place. There may be something in their bylaws, but I haven't seen their bylaws.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Commissioner Gregory, you have anything?
Yes, I do. Ms. Jett, first of all, thank you for attending that homeowners meeting some
Yes,
weeks
ma'am.
ago. I know I threw you in the fire, right?
It's fine.
And you may not know this yet, because I know you said you're waiting on Foster and Foster, but those parcels of land that are within subdivisions, you know, how would you, or maybe Mr. Reed would be better to answer this, and the chairman, all three of you. You know, when a citizen looks at this, a piece of land that's in their subdivision, they say, okay, it belongs to the county. You need to cut this, okay? Do we still have that responsibility as we're waiting this thing out, waiting for the land bank up to get settled? You know, is it our responsibility, Mr. Reed, to cut those parcels of land that are within a subdivision?
Some of it will depend on the status of ownership of the land. As Ally had stated earlier, we could have, I guess, to use layman's terms, we could have a interest, but not actual ownership. So we may be limited in what we can do on the property until we actually own it. But if the county owns the land, we should maintain it just like we would any other county property. Now,
Well, right now, Mr. Reed is saying that they're owned by the land bank. And again, you know, a citizen does not distinguish between the land bank and the Board of Commissioners.
and that kind of goes back to what Ms. Jett was saying as far as the funding of the land bank. If the land bank is, you know, I don't know what is in their operating budget and what they are doing, you know, as far as their maintenance. But yes, I think that ideally, the county and the land bank will be working together to make sure that any property that has the county's name on it, whether that's through the land bank or through the county, is being maintained properly.
Okay.
And let me say this, there are no guidelines that they have been going by to address your question, Commissioner Gregory. That's what prompted me to start taking a more in-depth look at the land bank and to facilitate the action that we brought to bring Ms. Jett in to take control of this, and let's reorganize and restructure the land bank itself.
Okay, I was gonna ask another question that you probably can't answer. You know, this one particular subdivision, the one you went to, Ms. Jett, and I know it might be premature question, but it looks like it was just several parcels taken off the tax roll, and I hate that, because they were just taken off the tax roll and put in the land bank, and you know, maybe some leftover stuff from a developer or whatever, and it's just kind of hanging out there. But I guess we'll eventually get to that.
I've seen there is an inventory list of properties owned by the land bank on their website. I'm not positive as to when that was last updated. But just looking through that, I took, probably a dozen properties from size, and just spot checked them. And in each case, they were all acquired by tax deed from Commissioner Baskin to the land bank. Mm-hmm. And I think my understanding is that what happened is he would, those properties were, tax delinquent for a number of years. He had tried selling them at tax sale at least one time. I don't know how many times before, he eventually gave up and, transferred it over to the land bank. But I think that from that perspective, it was you know, all we're doing is accruing more taxes on property that's not being paid, and we're trying to sell it to somebody who wants to do something with it, but nobody wants this property. And so in order to get it off of the tax rolls and just creating, you know, more taxes that aren't going to ultimately be collected, the decision was presumably made to, well, let's transfer it to the land bank, and at least that way we're stopping additional taxes from being accrued. And then at some point, the land bank's going to step in and clear title and do something with that property, whether it's just holding it and maintaining it until somebody does want it, or actively trying to market it, or actively try to do something with it, whether it be, again, community garden, green space, or, you know, build, you know, like a Habitat for Humanity type house for it. But I mean, I think that's, to answer your question, that's why it was done, because otherwise they're just tax delinquent property, and instead of sitting in the land bank's name, they're just sitting in the old owner's name, you know, probably heiress property, and nothing's happening with it.
Okay. Okay.
Is that all your questions, Commissioner Gregory?
That is, I'm just glad you're here so we can finally get this stuff figured out. So I thank you, and again, I thank you for actually meeting with that community. And I know they're, you know, and Chair, I'm gonna talk to you offline about a certain community, because we gotta help them. But thank you.
Sure, my pleasure. I look forward to being able to do this again with a lot more information under my belt.
Okay.
Commissioner Davis, any questions?
No questions.
No questions. All right. Well, Ms. Jett, I appreciate your time this evening, and we look forward to having you back once, we'll give you 2 or 3 months. Maybe you'll have the information that you've been requesting for a while.
Oh, I better.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I might be asking you for some help.
Well, hey, don't hesitate to ask us if
Okay.
help is needed, that's for sure. So again, unless there's anything else before this board, we will adjourn. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great, blessed evening and a fantastic week.
Thank you.